took my shower too.
Amazing. We all so fresh and so clean.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you guys are in a friend space.
Check the video.
Here you go.
Check the video. Check the video, please. Oh, somebody. Just make sure that you can see it, that it shows up on your timeline. Hey, everybody. You ready? Hello. You can see it?
Here you go. 5, 4, 3,
Yeah.
2.
You can see it? Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Dana Being Dana. I am your host, Dana Michelle, and we are grubbing today. Today's show is food and drink, and I just think there's something special about sharing a fantastic meal with your friends. I love food. I'm a foodie. So naturally, I have friends who have joined me from afar to be here tonight, and they've made a career out of cooking. And we're also celebrating the new book, the pending release of my friend and Morehouse brother Tim. Your book is called
Lessons I Learned from Drinking.
Lessons I've Learned from Drinking, and we've got a special offer coming up for you. So please stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. Tim, thank you so much for being here. You came all the way from Atlanta, and I'm so excited to talk about your book. And just get into it a little bit more. We've got a couple of chapters that we're going to talk about as a group, which is going to be fantastic. But before we get to that, Cassandra, you came all the way in from where?
Cuba.
Yes. So we are having a Cuban themed dinner. So welcome to our dinner table. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for preparing this lovely, delicious meal. We've been grubbing
All night.
Yes.
All night. So I appreciate you all joining us. Can you tell us what we're serving?
So tonight we have a couple of different things. The first one is arroz con pollo, which is a Spanish influence on Cuba. Yellow rice, of course, black beans, plantains, and vaca frita, which is basically ropa vieja that is sauteed with onions and lime.
And where was this cooked?
In Cuba. And flown on an airplane.
And it's delicious, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It is all good. It is all good. Thank you so much. And tell us where you work.
I work for America's Test Kitchen and Holland America Line, which is America's Test Kitchen is the longest running how to cook show on PBS, and they work together to bring a culinary experience to guests at sea.
Wow.
That is what I do. So I get to cook with guests for a living and see some great sights in the meantime.
All over the world.
All over the world.
Well, we'll talk more about that in a minute.
Sounds good.
Next, my good friend and Morehouse brother, Corey Richardson. Thank you so much for being here.
No problem. Great to be here.
So, Corey, you love food. You're an author.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your book. You wrote a book?
I wrote a kid's book. Can I say it?
Sure. What's the name of your book?
The kid's book is called We Used to Have Money, Now We Have You. It's a dad's bedtime story written for dads written by a dad for dad. So it's, just a story about what life was like before we had kids.
Yes,
In a
indeed.
child-safe environment.
And where else do you write? Who else do you write for?
Oh, gosh. Let's see. I write for VerySmartBrothers.com.
Yep.
I write for my own blog, FatherlyNoir.com. Very Smart Brothers is part of the Root, so my stuff is on the Root.
Awesome.
And there's some news coming. Can't quite say it yet because I haven't finished the piece because it needs to get edited. But there's another thing coming next 24 to 48 hours, so don't worry, guys.
Thank you, Corey. And last but not least, the lovely Tiffany. You've been a guest on my show before.
I have.
And you are a college friend of mine and a neighbor friend of mine. So I'm so happy to have you here. Do you want to say anything about yourself?
Well, I have a consulting business called VTM Consulting, and just to play off Corey's or Tim's book, Corey's book, things we did before we had kids. I used to do a lot of eating and drinking and enjoying life. So now I'm happily married and have 3 kids, twins and a 6-year-old, and loving being an entrepreneur and learning how to find myself again after, being a mom and a wife and still being able to live life and have fun. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you here. I love hanging out with you. And last but not least, we're in Cuba right now. We're going to travel to Houston very briefly. My girl Shay is on the line. Shay, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful, Dana. How are you, ladies and gentlemen?
I'm good. We're good.
Wow.
We're good. Thank you so much for joining us. You were slaying in that picture, Vivica. I love that picture of you. And for those of you who don't know, Shay is on the hit Bravo show To Rome for Love. And so, how are things going for you on To Rome for Love? Is in its first season. It's doing really well. How are things going for you on the show?
Things are great on the show. I mean, I'm excited. I'm getting people stop me everywhere asking for pictures. And it's really interesting. But it's fun. I'm having a blast. I'm loving all the blessings that I'm getting from the show and everything that's to come.
It's been awesome. And I've known Shay for a while, and I'm just so proud of you and so happy for you. It's a fabulous show. If you guys haven't checked it out, please check it out. To Rome for Love on Bravo. It's on Sunday evenings. And because I'm big on women supporting women, and so I'm just so grateful to have you all here. I'm so grateful to have you, Shay, as a friend. I'm wishing you love in 2018. But let's talk about some food.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some food. So you're a chef, Shay. Tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, Chef Shay is a relaunch of a brand that I started about 10 years ago. My creative cuisine. I started off as creative Turkish cuisine. Now it's my creative cuisine, and now it's just the Chef Shay brand. So I do meal prep. I do catering events all over the country. I travel. I am very passionate about what I do. So tasting the passion is what you will find in every meal. And I'm just really excited to do what I love for a living. I never thought that I would do this, but I'm having a great time, and I'm just really happy about creating a healthy gourmet cuisine for people all over the country.
It's fantastic. I love it. And I should mention that this show tonight is sponsored in part by Gary Harris Private Client Group, www.ghprivateclientgroup.com. They're at 800-558-9769. 800-558-9769. Now, one question I have for you, Cassandra and Shay, you both have done a ton of traveling recently. How has your travel, or what place has most inspired your kitchen?
For me, it has to be Portugal. I stepped off the ship, landed in the Horta Azores, traveled through Portugal, and it completely changed how I look at food, how I see our food culture as African Americans, because they have collard green soup. So that when they would see me in the market buying collard greens, they're like, "Oh, you're making our soup." I'm like, "No,
it's Thanksgiving. No, it's Thanksgiving.
No, I'm making my collard greens." So it was, the collard greens became a vehicle for us to talk about and share our culture and our food culture, and it opened that door that may have not been open otherwise. So you find yourself when you travel.
It's awesome. Shay?
Yeah, well, for me, I just from Chicago, and I recently just started a lot of more of the international travel. But just being from Illinois, it's a melting pot of restaurants. And I did a lot of self-studying of the industry, and I learned a lot about the different types of cuisine. So one of my favorite things to cook is Jamaican food. It's interesting because I did take a trip to Jamaica this last July for my birthday. And it was absolutely wonderful. And a lot of the things that I've learned from my Jamaican family and friends, I got to taste some authentic spices and seasonings, and I brought some things home. So for me, it's just a little bit of everything. I definitely from Rome brought some things back. The taco e pepe is one of my favorite things to eat. It's one of the really famous dishes in Rome, and it's basically it's pasta and pepper. It's Parmesan cheese dish that's done with pepper and some spaghetti noodles. It's very simple, but it's absolutely fantastic. So I tend to do a little more pasta than I used to since my trip to Italy.
That's awesome.
So, enjoying that.
That's awesome. Well, I think all of that just sounds fantastic. And the food that we are eating is so good. I'm over here nibbling. It's delicious. But in addition, but in addition to the food, Tim, lessons I learned from drinking. I love the title. I've read many chapters of the book. It's an amazing book. I love it. I'm so excited for when it comes out. I can't wait to get it. But your book really isn't about alcohol, is it?
It is not. It's the whole title is Life Principles Gained Through Investing in Spirits. So I probably invested more money than I wanted to in spirits, but a lot of life principles were gained. And so while the title is a play on words, it's really could be whatever you drink. I know people in the building I work in, there's a Starbucks, and there are people who spend a lot of money on Starbucks. There are people who drink tea, beer, ciders, wine. So whatever you drink, you just think they're life principles. We're talking about, chefs. I'm sure cooking is a trial and error type of thing, trying to find your way.
Absolutely.
And so this book is really about, just my trial and error in life and just some funny stories, reflections of things that I have learned from drinking. I've been doing it for
quite some time.
Quite some time. Yes.
Quite some time. And what I loved, in your introduction, you talk about several themes that you cover in the book, which I think are notable, because it really isn't just a book about drinking and alcohol and the escapades that come from that, but it's about independence, self-awareness, good mental health, financial management, especially after you've been drinking, friendships, and you said most notably, peace of mind.
Absolutely.
And I think as we get older, peace of mind, really resonated with me, is so important. It's so important. And so I love the way you touch on all of these different subjects in such a fun, lighthearted, and funny way. So you're such a great writer, Tim. I want to talk about some of the chapters that we're going to share about and have everybody comment on them. Please feel free to share the show and follow along. The first one, take a break. Can you give us a little preview, a little teaser about what take a break means, escaping in a meal?
Yeah, so, everybody on the panel is from the AUC and has probably participated in a homecoming or two. And so,
or 20.
Yeah, so homecoming is my, the day that I really, really look forward to, but it ends up being a long day of drinking.
Yes, and the AUC, just for people who are not familiar, the AUC is the Atlanta University Center in Atlanta, Georgia, and we have 4 to 6 schools that are there, mostly colleges, but there's grad schools there as well.
A medical school.
Medical school, including Spelman, Morehouse, Clark, ITC, the Theological Center, Morris Brown, rest in peace.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yes. So it ends up being a long day, and you can all think of kind of long days, and when I was younger, it just used to be let me just drink nonstop all day, and so as I have grown a little bit more wiser, I've learned that at some point you got to take a break, you got to drink some water, take a walk. You just can't kind of be in that place, and so if you just kind of think about life. We all have to take a break at some point in time. You think about, being in a job and we all have deadlines that we have to meet. We have to step away. We talk, those of us who are parents, being a parent is particularly when you have younger kids is a full-time thing. You need to take some time to, really just step out of that. So it's kind of talking about the drinking realm, and then, just always, just being sensitive to, DUIs and things like that. You want to drink some water. You just can't sit and continue to consume. And so whatever we're talking about consuming, be it work, be it relationships, be it life, be it internet, TV, at some point in time you have to take a break. And so, it's kind of telling a funny story about homecoming and other days that probably were longer than they needed to be. But, moving it forward to what is it that in life when you have to take a break, that you have to say, you know what, I just need to pause at this moment and just step away for a moment.
What I liked about it is the whole notion of the journey and not necessarily the destination. Taking time to smell the roses, if you will. We spend so much time, like you said, in the everyday busyness of life. And I think a lot of people who are parents, especially parents of young children, like you said, can understand how your days can be very long. But if you don't take time to appreciate life and take a break, the years go by super fast. And so I think that's one of the things that I got from the chapter and I thought was really good. Escaping in the meal was about appreciating the aspects of a meal. In my home, mealtime is very important. In the mornings, I talk to my kids and remind them that they shouldn't embarrass me out on these school streets. But in the evening, I want to know how their day is. I want to know what went on, what they learned, what makes them happy, what makes them sad, and just appreciating the different aspects of the meal, how the food tastes, how the drinks taste, right, and just really getting into it. and enjoying the company that you're with, right? Have you ever gone to the restaurants and you've seen people on their phones? A whole table of people.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody's talking.
Yeah.
And everybody's
not
on their
present.
phones.
Not present.
No, but see, when I see people on their phones in the restaurant, that's how I know the food's not good. Because no, seriously, when you're in a restaurant and the food is really good, you're talking to everyone about how good the food is,
yeah.
right? So if I walk past a restaurant and I see a bunch of people like this in the phones, and they're just, I'm like, oh, the food sucks, right? Because no, seriously, it's scientifically
Scientific.
research.
Let's go
Research. Seriously, when you go into a restaurant and the food is great, like nobody's they're engaged with the meal because it's the experience. But when the food is like,
The food and the company, the company
That's
is
true.
important too.
That's true.
The conversation, the
Yeah.
energy, all that stuff matters. I agree with you though. All
Yeah.
that stuff has to come together for people to be present.
and you need a good
Yeah.
bartender.
You need a good bartender.
Definitely,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Here's our bartender
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
Cheers to that. Cheers for sure.
Cheers.
Yes.
A lot of time in Cuba learning how to make mojitos.
Yes.
Well, you did a good job.
I love the pause when when people are eating, and you're right. You can tell when the food is good because everybody does kind of stop talking for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's like chowing down. They're grubbing. They're getting it in.
But then everybody brings their heads up and goes,
This is
"This
amazing.
is amazing."
good.
And like
Yeah.
my wife's family is the type of people who go, "Try some of this, try
Yeah.
some of that." And then
Yeah.
you got a plate with half everybody else's meal, and it's awesome.
Yeah, that is.
Shay, I love watching you eat on To Rome for Love because I can tell that you were loving all the different things that you were exposed to, going on your fabulous dates and people ordering awesome things for you, which was fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
So one question I have for everybody is what's your favorite drink, alcoholic or non-alcoholic? Shay, I'm going to start with you.
My favorite drink that is alcoholic is going to be my old fashioned. I am a bourbon girl. And then my non-alcoholic favorite drink to have is going to be a great, like strawberry or raspberry lemonade that's really, really cold.
Okay.
Mm.
Tiffany, what can we order for you at the bar?
Ooh, I love a good Cosmo, but in true Tiffany fashion, I'm giving all kind of instructions about how to do it. I need a vodka with Grand Marnier, substitute this,
She does do
that, a little dash of this.
That's what she does.
So I'm sure my husband's rolling his eyes right now, but I love a Cosmo, but it has to be made the right way, as you've attested. I love the iced tea, though, sweet tea. When I moved to Chicago, anywhere other than Atlanta,
The sweet
or
tea.
the South, the sweet
tea,
tea,
sugar.
my non-alcoholic sweet tea, hands down, is the best. The
Corey?
best.
My favorite drink is the kids are in bed glass of wine.
I know that's all.
That is
The
my
Wusa.
So sweet.
The Wusa wine.
Yes, that glass of red wine when you know both of the children are asleep.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful. It tastes
it is a
good.
beautiful
It just
thing.
it tastes
just
awesome.
tastes better.
It just
does.
goes
It
down.
just-
Yeah.
that and then that and my first cup of coffee at work. Those are my two favorite drinks. My first cup of coffee at work is it's my bout it coffee. Let's go get it done.
How about it?
All right.
Yeah.
Cassandra?
So for me, if you'd asked me this question 3 months ago, I would have said Tito's vodka soda, 2 limes. But a Cuba Libre was my very first drink on an airplane to St. Thomas. And when I rediscovered it again, now it's my go-to drink.
That's your go-to drink.
My go-to drink. Coke, rum, a little bit of bitters, a little bit of lime. So for non-alcoholic, for me, it has to be San Pellegrino. And then I'm absolutely with you on the coffee, but for me, it's an iced Americano, 4 shots of espresso.
You are like a real bartender. For real.
Jump starts my day.
4
4 shots of espresso, no water, ice only.
She flew in from Cuba today. Made all this.
You might, but if
Made
you
all
eat
these
that much
drinks.
caffeine, you might need to get a CPAP mask. You might got that apnea.
Tim, tell us, what is your favorite drink?
So, non-alcoholic, it would be some cold apple juice. And which is kind of funny because my favorite alcoholic drink is tequila. Right now, Casamigos Reposado has a sweet honey ending to it. Love it. But my kids call that spicy apple juice. So anytime, they'd be like, "Are you drinking spicy apple juice?" Yeah, I'm drinking spicy apple juice. So we'll just say I love apple juice.
Apple juice.
Spicy, non-spicy, apple juice.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Funny.
Which brings us to your next chapter.
Yes.
What is your least favorite alcoholic drink?
Jen and I are not friends. I think I say it every chapter throughout the
Oh my
book.
goodness.
Jen beat
So
me
funny.
down. And
Jen is not my friend either.
I most of my friends love gin. My wife loves gin. I mean, as much as I enjoy to drink, if she buys a bottle of Hendrix, it will sit there until she's done with it. I will not touch it. I'll go to the cabinet and be like, "We're out of alcohol?" She's like, "There's that gin." I'll go get some apple juice.
No.
I'm good tonight.
Yeah.
So tell us about this chapter. The chapter is Know Your Enemy.
Know your enemy. I mean, I really begin talking about a night in which me and Jen had a battle, and Jen won, and that was about 20 years ago. And I have not touched Jen on purpose since then, and just like even sometimes a bartender brought me a drink, and somehow some gin got in it, and as soon as I tasted it, I went back to that moment. And I said, "Nah, I can't have that, some gin in it." It's like, "No." I was like, "No, there's some gin in that. I know that." My body just has an instant reaction to it. But then, kind of speaking, just like all these are life principles. So, like, what is your enemy? What is it, the one thing that, does not agree with you?
Yeah.
And so, I one of my closest friends, he had a long time relationship with a woman who they just did not get along. It just did not work. I think they truly loved one another. They wanted to work, but he said, she's my kryptonite. And at some point in time, he had to move on from that. And it's really just thinking about, as we really, think about life and the limited time we have, particularly as parents, jobs, and everything like that. You don't want to be in places where there's negative energy in place. And so, trying to limit those situations and knowing this doesn't work for me. And now it doesn't have to be a person. There are people who shopping is their enemy. There are people who, I would say for my daughter, the TV. Like, she will get wrapped up in TV and not move for hours upon a time. And so it's just like, what is that? And to better understand that so you can stay away from that. And there's a chapter later on in the book where I talk about vices. And so, there are situations that if you know this isn't going to work out well for me, whatever the situation is like, how can you avoid that? And it's identifying that. I think a lot of people go through life and don't know what their enemy is, and they continue to be in these toxic situations and not being able to go out. So I know that Jen is my enemy, but then also really thinking about other situations in life that what is it that is not working for me, and how can I avoid that to have peace of mind.
One of the things you said, and one of my favorite quotes in the book, you said, "Life is hard enough to navigate without directly engaging with people or things that can be detrimental. Identification of your enemies is imperative in order to live a peaceful and successful life."
I wrote that?
You wrote that. It's deep, y'all. It is so deep.
That's great.
And I think it's great. Understanding what your enemy is. Whether it be gambling, drinking, drugs. You said social media, which made me laugh. Food, or a partner you can't say no to. Understanding your enemy. And one of the things that made me think about was the conflict resolution, where people sit down over a meal or a drink and talk things out, and work things out. So it was good. Anybody have a comment? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about food, the thing about a meal. My niece came and stayed with us a couple summers ago for a few weeks, and she was talking to my wife about how I wasn't affectionate. My wife was like, "What are you talking about? He cooked for you every day, right? Like that's he's not going to tell you he loves you. He's not going to tell you he's proud of you, but he cooked,
right?
This way this is how he shows love,
acts of service."
And I think that for me at least, that is probably the way that my family knows that I love them the most, is because after a long day of work, after a long day of work, I'm gonna come home, I'm gonna fire up that grill, and I'm gonna make them something good to eat.
Nice.
And with drinking, I think with that, with your friends, it's just one of those things that kind of opens up a door, not necessarily to diminished inhibitions, but it's more or less, I feel comfortable enough around you to be weak around you. Because I mean, alcohol takes you to a place where you're not necessarily the strongest. No, so but if you know, I tell people at work all the time, I get drunk with my friends, y'all ain't my friends, so
There you go.
you know. So but if I'm comfortable enough around you to drink with you, you probably my friend.
You're probably my friend.
So just know I'm drinking with y'all, so all y'all cool.
We're friends.
And you made this food,
now.
so I assume that you love me.
I do love you. I love everybody, like all my clients that I have when I'm not working. But the other thing is, it's a huge position of trust that you put in a chef. And Shay can attest to this. I mean, when you go to some restaurants, if you took a look in their kitchen, you would be like, oh my God, like I can't eat here. So it's a huge responsibility, and it denotes a certain type of relationship. You know, we don't eat everybody's food.
That's true.
Mm-mm.
You can't eat everybody's
No,
food.
No.
Check their kitchen.
Especially
Right.
not the greens.
Right.
That's
Let's say alive.
want to say a lot.
So let me ask you
I'm
this.
saying, you eat everybody's food, you won't say alive.
That's
Right.
true. That's
Right.
true. Let me ask you this, Cassandra. What inspired you to become a chef?
Well, of course, we talked about the AUC, and I was at Clark Atlanta in Africana Women's Studies doing research on health disparities. And so when I figured out the top 10 health disparities between African Americans and Caucasians, 9 of the 10 were food related. And I said, you know what? I'm on the wrong side of this conversation. I'm sitting in a building and I'm writing papers and doing research that just circulates through this ivory tower and it's not going anywhere. So that's when I made the decision that I should go to culinary school so I could be more active and proactive. And I still use a lot of the academic backgrounds, principles, research in food, but I feel more active and closer to the issue being a chef.
It's interesting, and we're going to talk about obesity in America. So I want you guys to be thinking about which states are the leanest and which states are the fattest. We'll get to that in a minute, but before we do, Shay, can you tell us what inspired you to become a chef?
Well, what's very interesting for me is that this just kind of happened to me. I wasn't planning on being a chef. I went to school for business. I have a bachelor's degree in management, and marketing and sales is my background in corporate. So, but I've always been a consumer packaged goods, and I've come from a family of chefs and really caterers and just business people that just went out here and hustled and made it happen. And I literally I was just passionate about cooking, and I love to do it. And I just took what I knew from a business standpoint, from managing portfolios of millions of dollars, to doing what I loved in my kitchen for my family and my friends all the time. And I just incorporated both of them, and it just, like I said, it just happened to me. It was a great idea from a business standpoint. It would make me a lot of money, and it would afford me an opportunity to leave corporate, and I ran with it. So, and it turned out that I was really good at it, and the food was amazing, and it just flowed. So, it's a great story, but I always wanted to do something that was going to get me out of having to work for someone else for the rest of my life. I knew that in 2005 when I just wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I just pursued it head on and left corporate, and here I am.
And you're doing it.
Later.
You're doing it. Let me ask you this, Shay. What is your favorite type of cuisine?
I ain't gonna lie, I should have been a Mexican. My mother says it all the time. I know it's in
Amen.
my blood. I know it's in my blood. That's why Trump is on that mess. If y'all get rid of the Mexicans, I'm going with them. I'm gonna be on a boat. But yeah, Mexican food. Love Mexican
Mexican's
food.
great. Yes, indeed. Anybody else? Favorite cuisine?
For me to eat is also Mexican, but for me to cook is Italian.
Okay. Okay.
Just the slow cooking, the long cooking, the intentionality, the process, the ingredients, it really plays up to my OCD.
Okay.
And so it's fulfilling mentally and stomach-wise.
I will say the whole.
I missed you. Hold on. Did you say what kind of food did you just say? I missed it.
She said Italian.
Was that Carol?
Italian.
Italiano.
My first love. Go ahead.
I will say the whole Latin diaspora. I mean, tapas, Mexican, Colombian. I mean, just I'm all about it. I was talking with a friend about wanting to go to Europe, And he's like, why are you trying to go to Europe? All you eat is Latin food. You just need to like start at like Belize and just work your way all the way down and just go through. And I said, you know what, you're probably right. And the temperatures agree with me a little bit more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love a good crab leg. I
I
love a good crab leg.
Yeah.
But I
just
love
one crab leg.
just a whole plate of crab. I don't need any sides. I just need some butter to dip it in. So I love crab. It's my favorite. And I'm with you. I like Thai. I
do like Asian
I love
food.
Asian food, but more like Asian fusion. You know, I know that's a little bit newer, but I love just the blending of all the flavors and Thai and Indian and Asian fusion and barbecue. I mean, some good old fashioned ribs and soul food. So you can.
If we were doing them all, I could have just made like 8 more.
I know, right? I know. It's hard to pick one, though. I love to eat. That's why I'm here.
You gotta pick one.
That's why I'm here. So no, I love but barbecue though. We didn't talk about barbecue.
Barbecue
is like, especially AUC.
Yeah.
AUC. We got a lot
for
of
sure.
good barbecues.
Shay, when I come to Houston, I got a bottle of tequila. Gonna stand in the middle of the table, get some tacos, and go for it.
Let's roll. Let's do this.
Are cheeseburgers considered? Are cheeseburgers
No burgers and
considered?
not a cuisine. That's not a
No,
cuisine.
no.
No.
No, because I am a cheeseburger enthusiast.
Really?
I like a good cheeseburger.
I've noticed there's such an influx though of hamburger spots, just places where you can go get a burger. The influx.
Yeah. But they really market it as like the best, juiciest. You know, they put
How many
eggs
different ways
on
you do a
top.
burger,
And,
though?
Oh my
Yeah.
God, what are you talking about? How many different ways
It's
you do a burger?
nostalgia though for us, like as kids,
Yeah.
like just going to get that burger or being at a cookout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a little slice of summer.
I feel like
But
women-
different from Eddie Murphy's description
I was
of
thinking
it. Yeah.
Eddie Murphy's I got the
hamburger.
You can't afford it.
You wonder where they're.
Greasy bread.
So statistically, there are more obese U.S. adults than there are adults who are overweight. Do you guys have any advice, the chefs in particular, for healthy living?
Eat real food.
What do you mean by that?
And when I say eat real food, I mean food that does not come out of a box or a can. Like, make your food whenever possible. And eat at home. If you eat at home and you cook your food, you don't have to worry so much about counting calories and weighing, because you're eating food that's good, that's prepared, doesn't have a lot of preservatives. Just eat real food. Stop eating garbage.
Stop eating garbage. Shay?
I mean, I have to piggyback. I mean, that is one of the best ideas. I always say order meal prep from me, but you know, whatever.
Right, there you go. There you go. What's your website again, Shay?
It's chefshay.com. Follow me at the Real Chef Shay and Chef Shay on Facebook. Follow back.
Okay.
So,
but for me, the biggest thing is like really fresh produce. I'm not big on like making sure that your food comes from like you say whole paycheck, but you know Whole Foods is a great store to buy things
You
from.
didn't know what that was.
That was hilarious. I love that. But you know, just making sure things are fresh, and one of the things I love about going to get a good fast food burger is when I get it and I know it's hand packed. Like if I can go through a drive-through and I can get something that's hand packed. There's a couple places here in Houston, but I just like fresh food.
So what states do you think, the top 5 states that have the highest rate of obesity?
I can answer this actually.
Mississippi, Alabama.
It's going to be Mississippi. It's going to be Alabama. It's going to be West Virginia. It's going to be Kentucky. West Virginia. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You have to follow.
It's gotta be Houston. Has gotta be in this list.
And probably Texas.
Texas.
But you have to follow. Honestly, you got to follow poverty.
That's
Following poverty.
ding, ding,
So
ding, that's
if
the
you have a
issue.
guess, please put it in the box. You can please share the show. Number 5, Alabama. Number 4, Louisiana.
Ooh,
Yeah.
surprise.
Yeah.
Oh, New Orleans.
Yeah, no,
New
they
Orleans.
ain't got down there.
Poverty.
3, Mississippi. 2, West Virginia. And number 1
what you do for a living.
is Arkansas.
Wow, Arkansas.
Yeah.
Arkansas.
No, but what you guys have to understand about poverty and processed food. Processed food, initially in the 1950s and 60s, processed food was actually considered to be a good thing because it was safe, right? You didn't want to buy vegetables that hadn't been processed. You didn't want to buy food that hadn't been processed. But the thing about it was, processed food also had ingredients like cane sugar, had ingredients like actual salt. What happened in the 1970s and 80s was these companies, these packaged goods companies, to cut costs, started to become chemistry companies. And they started to turn your meal into a chemistry set. And so a lot of the things that were good about processed foods became bad. So the sugar got replaced with high fructose corn syrup. And the salt got replaced with monosodium glutamate. No, the MSG is a totally different thing. Totally different. No, it's a different thing. But what happened was a lot of food that our parents grew up on and fed us because they thought it was good because it was processed food and healthy. We found out later on that was what was making us all fat, right? But that's also the cheap food that's available, and
it's quick and it's easy. And as a mom, sometimes you do what's practical. And so I think if anyone has the tips on some practical healthy foods, that's quick and efficient, let us know, because I think that's what working moms in particular, want to hear about.
That sounds like another show.
That sounds like another show. Produced by Tiffany. And sponsored by Crab Legs. Crab Legs and Cosmos coming at you. Dana being Dana. So the lowest rate of obesity, the top 5 states with the lowest rates, the leanest states in the country.
Follow the money.
California. Yeah.
I'm gonna probably
Florida.
Florida. No. I don't know.
Miami.
But I'd probably say either like Virginia or Maryland, New York, Massachusetts.
I throw in a state that's not populated like Montana in there. Just
Seattle.
So please guess. I would love to see. I can't see it now because we don't use devices and computers at our dinner table. We're sitting here eating and drinking, but I definitely will check them out later. Number five. I saw you, Corey. Number 5 is California. Number 4 is Massachusetts. 3 is Hawaii.
Ooh, going there for spring break.
This one's kind of cheating a little bit, but 2 was DC, District of Columbia. And number 1 was Colorado.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Colorado.
As much smoking as they doing, they like,
But they're also hiking. They're hiking.
Right. But they do have a lot of
outdoorsy. They're outdoorsy.
They're running and hiking and smoking and eating. So
that's right.
all of that.
Yeah, they're busy. They're active.
Which brings us now.
In the house.
Which brings us now to Tim's 3rd chapter. Cash is king.
Cash is king.
And I love your musical references. There's a soundtrack to the book.
There is.
Which we'll share. We've shared already on our timelines, but we'll share it again, along with a special offer coming up soon, so please stay tuned. But cash is king, tipping and cash in the hospitality industry. Tell us about the chapter.
Well, before that, just kind of speaking on the music, at the beginning of every chapter is a musical snippet from, songs that I enjoy that kind of sets the tone for what the chapter is about. And so this book was written over the last 10 years at various times, drinking, not drinking. And so there's definitely a soundtrack of music that when I hear it takes me back to a certain place. And so that's definitely a major part of the book. So if you enjoy music, you can rate me on. You can rate me on my musical taste.
Love it. I love it. It's awesome.
But cash is king is really it comes from this idea that cash still has a place in there, in particularly in the hospitality and in the bar world. Tipping a bartender can get you a lot. As far and the idea is not you don't expect if I tip well I should get this, but if you have a place that you regularly go to and you tip a bartender at a nice rate, you might get a heavier pour. You might get a free drink, because...
Come on now.
Yeah, and then, I can think of one night I was at a black tie fair and it was finishing up and all the wine was gone and a gentleman at the table took a $50 out of his pocket and he told, the gentleman had been helping us, hey, we want to keep the party going, gave him $50, and then 6 bottles of wine, poof, just ended up at the table. So I mean, there's just
Magic.
there's still a place where cash, has a place, particularly in the hospitality industry. But even in technology fails. About a month ago, after a night out of drinking, usually I end up at McDonald's. Sorry for the conversation we just had about healthy, but I usually order a double cheeseburger, fish fillet, and some fries. And when I got there and ordered, they said our credit card machine is down. 2:30 in the morning, drive through McDonald's, our credit card machine is down. Y'all can't. I can't tell y'all how hurt I was because I mean that's like it's just like $7, and I'm like, I do not have $7 in my pocket, and so there are many instances. If like anytime I go to valet, I'm like, I need to go get some cash because I mean they have these new valets that have some, but for the most part they operate off of cash, and one of the worst things is like you're like, man, I don't have any cash, and they just kind of look at you like, here you go.
Especially if you're black.
Exactly.
Especially if you're black.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's really that, and then let's just say there's a whole industry that works off nothing but cash. So, I mean, like, cash still has a heavy place.
What industry is that?
We'll just say their industry.
I was like, that's way over my head. I was like, what is
Are
that?
clear heels there?
Yeah. So I mean, and then the final thing, I will say is that, it's just good to have money in your pocket because you never know what will happen. Technology fails. And then, just being all the way out there, sometimes you don't want your transaction to be traced. And once you have a cash transaction, it's done.
It don't sound right to me.
So all this to say is that, and then the final thing I'll say is think about kind of the financial piece. If I need to go finance a car, the price that I will finance that car is different at the price if I pay cash.
If you pay cash and you pay you pay outright in cash, you don't need financing, you are not paying full price.
Yeah, so I mean, all those reasons, just cash, I think still is king.
So do you keep cash on hand?
I try, but right now I have not $1 in my pocket. I'm working on it.
Does anybody keep cash?
I have
I
zero
do.
on me.
I do.
Yeah.
We're keeping cash.
I think I have $1.
Yeah, I do.
Makes me holler.
It's the industry. It's the industry that I'm in. Being in restaurant, food, hospitality, traveling, people they want cash. And when you travel to other countries, they want dollars.
Yeah.
You can keep that Eastern Caribbean dollar. They want that greenback.
Exactly.
So yes.
Are you saying you're not gonna pull out an Amex? That's not the thing.
It's not happening.
Not that green.
I used to be able to keep cash, but I got a family, and like it's like the scene at the beginning of Married with Children, where everybody comes downstairs and you just holding up the dollars, like, go ahead, take them.
And everybody's taking one.
Everybody's
getting it.
Yeah.
Speaking of taking money, there was a recent article in the Washington Post, and it was called "Stop Charging Me to Attend Your Celebrations." The hashtag was that guests don't pay. And the premise behind it was that for certain events, such as birthdays, engagements, bridal showers, baby showers, anniversaries, or retirements, people are invited out to celebrate in these momentous occasions, but then later duped, if you will, according to the author, into paying, not only for themselves, their own way, but also for the guest of honor. According to Miss Manners says that guests are not charged to attend parties. What do you think of that? Should we be required to pay, and or should we be required to chip in for the guest of honor?
So I have a strong opinion about this coming from a restaurant background. There is nothing worse than a table of 45 people that need 45 individual checks.
Who ordered gratuity?
Right. And then complaining about the gratuity because you've taken up a whole section of the dining room. So that's number one. Number two, it is wrong when people are duped because you see the confused look on the diner's faces like, oh, I didn't bring my money. Now, if you agree to something ahead of time, it's you and your girlfriends, and you say, hey, it's Dana's birthday. We're all going to go out. We're going to pay our own check.
To McDonald's.
And we're going to pay
bring money.
per tab. That's okay. But stop throwing these restaurant-based parties champagne dreams and a beer budget. It's
Champagne dreams
and a beer
and
budget.
a beer budget.
It's a little. I mean, it's just a little bit tacky, and it's a little bit embarrassing for the guests. But if you've arranged this ahead of time, different story. But I've seen this in a restaurant where it's mad chaos, and this is where I will put a plug in that you should hire Shay or I to do your private party in your home.
Do your private party.
Right.
Hire
Hire a
with
private
real
chef
food.
with real food.
Real food.
Yeah. Real food.
Real food.
No
That's
process.
also a
You don't
maturity.
even need cash.
No, but that's a maturity thing, right? I think I'm not gonna wager to guess on everybody's age here, but I'll say my own, right? I'm pushing 40, and I say I'm pushing 40. I'm leaning on it real hard. And so if I go out to dinner for a friend's birthday, I am understanding that I'm going to pay, right? At least for my meal. And like I get that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have either the honesty or the level of confidence in your friendship to tell your friends, yo, y'all gonna be ponying up, that's BS. Now, if I'm out with my guy and it's his birthday and he had a birthday party, we gon' out of the goodness of our hearts go, hey, you know what, Tim, you ain't gonna pay. It's your birthday. We got you. Don't worry, we got you.
Thank you. I got no cash anyway.
Yeah.
But I do think the
I
level
got your quarter pounder, bro.
the level of expectation. I think in the article, she talked about how one guest was like, one guest of honor was like, it's my birthday, y'all. Y'all figure it out. And I think that's a little bit tacky.
That's tacky.
Oh, yeah, that's presumptuous as hell.
Exactly.
You can't host a party and then expect people to pay. If I am literally hosting a party and having guests, that is the understanding that you are coming. I'm going to provide food or drink.
Right.
That's like you coming to my house for dinner and I give you a bill.
And usually
Yeah,
a friend or a spouse or a significant other is hosting.
Yeah,
And that's a
host is
whole
another-
other
the key word
issue.
here is
Yeah.
who's
Yeah,
hosting.
who's hosting?
Who's hosting?
Who's hosting?
Who's hosting?
I also think, because now I think certain functions like birthdays, if it's your 38th birthday and you're just going out to dinner, right?
Right.
I like Corey's point where the idea is if you're grown and you got decent credit, you would be paying for the presumption is that you're paying for yourself,
Right.
at least.
But that party should not have 50 people at it. Okay,
True.
let's be clear.
True.
It should be
But
8
there's
to
a
10.
difference. There's a difference between us going to Papado, right, and a bridal shower, right? I think a bridal shower. I think some of these, obviously, right, people don't chip in at weddings.
Right.
I guess maybe sometimes they do.
Yeah.
But
Didn't come to my wedding.
It depends on the wedding.
We charge the cover.
Oh my God.
please bring $40. But
25 for the bride.
when it's those milestone events,
Yeah.
right? 50th birthday party, retirement party, 25th anniversary type of thing. I think the presumption is that you don't pay.
But what you're not, what I think people fail to realize is that when you have a party, it's an exchange. So I host a party, I provide food and drink, you bring me a present.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So there is an
'Cause
exchange there. People, you don't just come eat up my food and it's my birthday and you don't even give me a card.
Right.
That's Target gift card.
That's
You
true.
are paying
I think
one
that's
way
what
or the
the-
other. There is an exchange.
people do
It's the culture
in
of
the
having.
world.
Yeah.
A lot of people show up these days with hugs.
Right. No, that's not how this works. That's
Right.
not how any of this works.
Right. I think that's true.
These are also people who haven't done enough kids' birthdays. Because because if you have kids and you do enough kids' birthday parties, you know that it's tacky to not show up with
Without a
something.
gift.
Yeah, without
Oh
a gift
my
from the
God.
kids.
Yeah.
Very tacky.
Yeah.
It's
So
awful.
it's just like, hey,
Yeah.
so whoever wrote this article,
And
obviously.
and that is one of my biggest pet peeves. Like, I went off on one of my cousins coming to my daughter's trunk party with nothing. It's like I'm providing this beautiful spread,
Right.
a nice, it's just, to me, it's having proper manners.
It
Right.
is. It is. It's
Right.
etiquette. It's,
You nailed
it's,
it.
It's
It's manners.
etiquette. It
Right.
is. It's manners. It's,
One thing, Cassandra, that I wanted to mention or talk about, you talked about chefs of color. And if you could just briefly talk about the underrepresentation or the seemingly underrepresentation of chefs of color, because both you and Shay are African American women.
And we're women.
And we're women, yeah.
We're women.
Yeah.
So you will see a lot of articles, usually around February, Black History Month, that will say, where are all the black chefs? And the conversation I had with both of you earlier is that there are plenty of black chefs. You go to the bathroom and peek your head around any corner in a kitchen. Kitchen is all black or Hispanic, and they're there, but they don't have the PR. They don't have the representation. They don't have the money to put themselves out there. They're too busy working 2 jobs to pay their bills. So they don't have that celebrity chef billing or that promotion behind them, that machine. So it's so important to network and be a part of a number of different organizations. And honestly, for me, I have to give a shout out. I would not be where I am today if it was not for She Chef Inc. I mean, I've had a lot.
She Chef Inc.
She Chef Inc. Y'all can look that up online. It is an organization for women chefs of color, and it even is just a sounding board of, hey, I was offered this job. Here are the responsibilities, and someone says, oh no, boo, you need to go ask for $20,000 more because this is too much work. So it's just having that sounding board and that leg up, because you don't have that support in the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think what you guys do is fantastic. I've had food from both of you all, and I love it. It's delicious. That's why I'm so happy you're friends of mine. And I just appreciate you guys being here. Tim, I just want to go back to you for a minute, because one of my favorite parts of your book is your dedication. Who is your book dedicated to?
It is dedicated to my twins, my daughter, and she goes by, her name is Carter, but I call her Miss Carter, and then
Carter.
And then the real Miss Carter.
The real Miss Carter.
And my son, I call him Master Alexander. So it is dedicated to them. I think, there's just so much joy that I have that they bring me every day, the smiles. But really, the book was to let them know that there's nothing that they could not do. If you would have said 5 years ago that I would have a book, I would have laughed. But I got tired of talking about it, and I said, you know what, I want to do this. And my children were my inspiration. Just let them know that anything you want to do, you can do. And so I kind of put my head down and said, I'm going to make this happen. And, my wife has been there to support me the whole way through this process. And so, I mean, it's just, when, when I move on and my days are gone, my children can say, our daddy wrote a book. But more importantly, they know that, anything we want to do, we can do if we put our mind to it. And, it's dedicated to them. And then also people who have this idea or something that they want to do, start a business, become a consultant, write for all sorts of media outlets, have a show. So, I mean, it's just that idea that, as I was researching this book, somebody said 85% of people have a book in their mind, but only about 6% actually do it.
85% have an idea, 6% do it.
An idea as far as I can write this book.
I can do this.
We all can do that. Well, yeah, I can write a book about this, but only about 6% execute it. So it's really, to motivate them and just really to motivate, my kids to know that like anything you want to do in life, you can make it happen.
That's huge. That's huge. Anyone who has a dream or an idea, or they just want to share something with the world. And I am so proud of you, Tim, for being that 6%, for sharing this book with the world. Can you please tell us what the special offer is for listeners who are listening tonight?
Absolutely. I am very excited about this book. I've been excited for a while. I talked about the musical quotes at the beginning, but also at the end, there's a reflection page. And so the principles that are in the book, at the end of each chapter is a space for you to say, okay, why don't I carry cash? Or when was the last time I took a break? And one of my favorite books is The Road Less Traveled. And every 5 years when I read it, it has a different meaning to me. And
what's the special offer, though?
So the special offer is anybody.
I love you, though.
I got you.
Close it out.
Yeah, anybody who we will send out a link to the website for the book. You send me a message, and I will send you a digital copy of the book. It's that simple.
Which is awesome. And can you give them the link?
The link is lessonsIlearnedfromdrinking.com. It is simple.
That's fantastic. Shay, do you want to give your website and your information?
Sure. You guys can follow me. I'm having some issues with my website, but just follow me on Instagram. It's at the Real Chef Shay. Facebook is Chef Shay. Everywhere I am, it's Shay Atkins or Chef Shay Atkins. You can Google me, hit me up on LinkedIn, all that good stuff.
Fantastic. Cassandra?
First of all, She Chef Inc., which is online. You can Google it, website. We're on Facebook, also on Instagram. Second is, in addition to chefs of color, there are also not very many food writers of color represented. And I got my start at Arc Republic, which is arcrepublic.com. And it's all sorts of fantastic articles that deal with the African diaspora.
Fabulous. Corey, where can people follow you and find your book?
So you can find my book on iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play. It's 99 cents. It's called We Used to Have Money, Now We Have You. You can follow me on Twitter at VexedInTheCity, or you can follow my blog, fatherlynoir.com.
And Tiffany? Crab Legs and Cosmos.
That's a book. I'm going to write that book. I'm going to
write that book.
6%. But no, I'm VTM Consulting. You can find me on Facebook, VTM Consulting.
Thank you. And everybody will be tagged in the video. Tim, the price of your book, we're going to be sharing the links, the pre-order. Get your pre-order today. We'll send out the information. You can get it as soon as possible.
$15.99.
$15.99. This is great. Thank you all so much for coming. I appreciate you all being here. Next week on Dana Being Dana, narcissists and sociopaths. Narcissists and sociopaths.
Why am I not here for that?
They are amongst us like
Call me.
They are amongst us like Wakandians from Black Panther. So learn how to identify them next week on Dana Being Dana. Thank you all so much for tuning in. This has been a fabulous night. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Shay.
Thanks, Shay.
Thank
Bye,
you all.
Shay.
Thank you, Dana, for having us.
Thanks, Dana.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
This is awesome.
Bye.
Talk to you guys.
Thank you.
Cool.
So
It's
Tim,
delightful.
is it available now, or is it?
It's a pre-order.
It's pre-order. So what's the book then?
He said 10 days. So I will say, based on what he told me,